Hello, and welcome to this episode of It's Not You, but Sometimes It Is, the podcast where real leaders talk about the real crap we've overcome. And today's episode features Miss Belinda Soto, the COO of LSR Multifamily. And she has a really interesting path to the C-suite. And she and I had a great conversation exploring imposter syndrome and what it takes to really fix a bad boss. I know you'll enjoy it. Welcome to the episode. So, welcome to this episode of It's Not You, but Sometimes It Is, the podcast where real leaders talk about the real crap that we face. And I am so excited to have Belinda Soto here. She is the COO of LSR Multifamily in the Dallas area. And Belinda, you have a really interesting path to the COO role that's pretty non-traditional. So let's start there. Talk to us a little bit about the company, what y'all do, and how you landed there.
Yeah. Well, LSR Multifamily is we are a service-based roofing, welding, and construction company for the multifamily industry. So that's our primary focus. We basically just want to be an extension of for property managers, property owners, maintenance managers on these multifamily properties, where we can go in and just provide a service that they can't do. So it's, quick, fast response. We like to sit in a space where we are rapid response service. And so we have really captured a market in truly the service side of multifamily.
Awesome. Awesome. And how did you end up not only kind of your trajectory towards COO, which was very interesting, but this company in particular? Give us a little snapshot of that.
Okay, so yeah, it's a really cool story. There's a lot to it, but I won't go into the details. But I met a guy, Bill Chinners, who owns the company, and we met through our relationship at church. We go to the same church. We were doing a church launch, and we just, when I met him, I will say this very honestly and truthfully. When I met him and got to know him a little bit better, I thought, if there's anybody I would really want to go work with, work for, do ministry with, even in the context of, our what was happening in our church, I'm like, it is that guy. He just, as authentic as you could find. Didn't ever think that would ever come to any kind of anything, really. It was just, man, that would be really cool to do that. So I met him. He was actually looking for, I didn't know this at the time, but he was looking to fill some seats in his company. And one thing led to another. I ended up leaving a staff position with a main church campus that had launched this new church. One thing led to another. I onboarded with this company. We GC'd the church project, a new building project for this church launch. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. So it was just through building relationships and taking next steps and really getting to know people, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It sounds like you and Bill both kind of followed your hearts with that one. Just your instincts of this, we'd make a great partnership.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, really kind of, I didn't know initially what that was going to look like. I don't even know if he did, but I think honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like I think Bill saw someone that he felt like aligned with probably his vision, his passion, and felt like, oh, she would make a great team member. She aligns with our heart vision. She aligns with just probably even, I don't think he even knew too much of my background at that point, but I think he saw something, and he's pretty good as a visionary, as most visionaries are. I think they see things and can kind of quickly pinpoint, oh, either that's a good fit or not a good fit.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So, non-traditional path to say the least, especially since your passion, your early career was being a pianist, right?
Well, yeah, sort of. So I know it is very nonlinear, very non-traditional. I think people laugh. I was thinking about this as I was kind of just reviewing the questions. And when I took my background is actually as a forensic accountant. I did that for several years. But I've been playing the piano since I was 3. Um, I thought that was going to be, the rest of my life. Earned a degree in piano performance and pedagogy, and then earned an MBA in accounting because I think my parents were worried that I was going to starve, not make any money. So I thought I should probably give them some assurance that I can maybe support myself. So there was never, I don't think I ever had an intent to go into accounting. That's just kind of the course, right? That's just what I fell into. Um, Took this position. I remember going into my first interview with this firm, and the managing partner was like, "So, a degree in piano performance, like what are you going to do with that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm good for parties. I mean, so so if you ever need a pianist, I mean, I'm available. You kind of get a two for one deal here." But now I took a position as a forensic accountant for several years, and then just kind of morphed into other things that I feel like honestly the pathway was kind of like when you write a story, right? Uh, Chapter after chapter, it isn't as linear. I don't think stories are as linear as we think they are. I think you just kind of go back, you start connecting dots, and they can take several different pathways. They can take several different routes. It kind of depends on whether or not, those storylines where, well, would you do this or would you do this? And then you kind of have two different, you can go two different ways. I kind of feel like that's how my life has played out. You can do this or you can do this. And I think I always just kind of took this non-conventional, oh, let's just kind of see what's through door number 2, um,
Yeah.
which has been really interesting. But I think at the end of the day, the life experience, having just kind of a diverse perspective, I guess, on
Mhm.
work and life in general has really kind of just morphed into meeting people, developing a character, and everything else that just comes with experience, right? That kind of
Mhm.
leads you to different moments in time. And now I'm here, that's led me here. I don't think it's because I checked off all of the boxes on what an ideal CEO or COO would be.
Mhm.
Think it just I think I fit a profile that aligned with heart and vision.
Right. Yeah. Heart and vision. I like that because your background is definitely like right brain, left brain, which some people say is like
Absolutely.
heart mind. But because of that diverse perspective and you're unconventional, you're a problem solver. And that's how COOs are, right? Like they can come in and see the forest and the trees,
Right.
and look at difficult challenges in a company and make pull the right levers, right, for
Right.
success and performance. So um, let's talk a little bit about at any point in your career, let's talk about a really hard thing that you had to overcome, like a big challenge, a big problem. How did you overcome it, and what did you learn from it that you
Oh
carried?
gosh. I think I'm still overcoming it. Um, I would probably say, just to get deep and vulnerable, it's imposter syndrome. It's really and I think a lot of people struggle with that. Um, I think it is, and probably, I want to say probably more so for high achievers who, you're all, it's either never really good enough, or you just can't, you always want to go beyond, like 1,000% beyond the goal because you're an overachiever, right? Um, and so just getting past the point of, gosh, you're never going to get there because you feel either underqualified, or that you just don't have it all to get there because you know what it takes. It's that imposter syndrome that always kind of just it resurfaces, right? I think getting past that has been part of the challenge too, and just recognizing that, hey, progress it's not about perfection, it's progress. The old Winston Churchill, progress over perfection. And we say that all the time. And I think that helps to kind of scale it back a little bit and just recognize that you just don't have to be perfect, but make progress, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I would say, yeah, just dealing with the battle of really just always maybe feeling just a little bit underqualified. I mean, even the pathway to this position, I sometimes I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious? Do you really? It's you question yourself, like, do you really want me to do that? Like, I have no, I don't. I told Bill one day, I'm like, I don't know your industry. He said, that's okay. Like, I can teach you. It was one of those, I can teach you everything you need to know about the business, but I can't teach you what you have, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I think, yeah, it's just kind of embracing the challenge and knowing how to tackle it,
Mhm.
to overcome it. But it's a daily, I don't know that I will ever feel like, oh, I'm there, I've completely tackled it and I'm done with it. I think we're always kind of struggling with some form of that in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we feel that insecurity, which all people feel, it inhibits some of our voice and it slows us down. And then we don't overcome something as quickly as we could have. And we also experience so much more stress than we needed to, like totally unnecessary amount of stress.
Oh,
So sometimes,
absolutely.
yeah, like the big thing that we have to overcome is in the 6 inches between our ears when,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think when you're really unleashed to go and live within the context of your unique ability, who you are, your giftings, your skills, everything that you have, like every gift that you have. I think when you're unleashed to go and do that and you go, no, this is how I'm wired. This is how I'm created. This is what I have. This is what I bring to the table. Then you go and run without any inhibition, right? I think you're free to do that. But those kind of thoughts that come into your mind and kind of hold you captive a little bit, it creates a barrier for what you can actually do.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Belinda, you've been really successful at LSR, and you talked to me a little bit about the culture there, and you're very tuned to people and culture, and in the construction or repair industry, right? But like,
Yeah.
that's a really important part of the company's values and how you guys are successful. So, you know the old saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? Most of us who pay attention to culture, we do because we've experienced where it went wrong, where the people problems and friction really messed with our goals and our results. So, do you have any examples of that where there was performance or friction issues, right, with the team, and how did you identify it and address it?
So, and I think this is for a lot of organizations because I remember taking on this role early on, and I spoke to a friend who was a mentor, and also he was a VP for a very very large company that had just segments of companies underneath them, and so he actually ran one of the components, and I asked him, I'm like, what teams are your biggest challenge? He said sales and operations. I'm like, oh, well, of course. I mean, and I asked several people because I wanted to get a good understanding of why there was so much friction between the sales and operations team because I'd always heard that. And then I always also heard it's never resolved. So when I came in to LSR, that was a point of contention between the teams was just I think it was bottom line, it was lack of alignment. There just didn't seem to be a whole lot of alignment, even though the company as a whole, I would say 1,000% aligned on our vision. We know who we are, we know where we're going, we know how we're going to get there. We're that attuned to, our processes and our vision, but you still have two teams who are misaligned because they're two just completely separate spaces of one that's just putting the gas on all the time to generate revenue, and one that's like, we want to put the gas on because we have to go execute, but whoa, just a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so there, it creates a tension that if you're not 1,000% aligned in creating a balance between how those two teams operate, then you're always either here or
Mm-hmm.
here, right? One is you're just struggling to gain some traction. That I feel like I always picture it as like those gears on a machine when they lock in and they start turning.
Mm-hmm.
You can go as fast as you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one misstep or one just one glitch in the system, that gear gets off just one notch and then you're hobbling along. That's kind of how I picture sales and operations teams. Is if you're not 1,000% aligned, 1,000% communicating across the board in how you're doing your business together, then it's a struggle. It's probably the biggest challenge. But the biggest thing, and I think one of the I wouldn't say it's the hardest thing. I would just say it's probably one of the most time consuming things, is just really managing um, the people effort behind how we're gaining alignment, how we're gaining traction, um, just making sure that, people are messy, right? And everyone kind of has their own idea sometimes of what's best. Even though we're aligned on vision,
Mm-hmm.
you still people can get ahead of themselves, and then you start operating in a space where I would say timing's just off, right? If your timing is spot on with each other, um, I used this analogy the other day. It's like you're rowing the row teams, right? If they're all so in sync. If you really watch the good teams that are high performance rowing teams, the way they maneuver, the way they operate, and they're listening to one person, right? They can't even see what the other person's doing because they're all looking, right? You're all looking a certain direction. You can't see what the guys behind you are doing. You're just trusting that the guy that's calling the shots is leading you in the right direction, and you're not going to just crash and burn. But if you can get a team that is so attuned to and so focused on the vision, here's where we're going, here's how we're going to get there, and we're all going to do it this way, then it's a no-brainer. It just makes life so much easier. So yeah, alignment is 1,000%, I think, just bottom line for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, it's funny you talk about people are messy, and often it's because bosses are messy, right? Or leaders. There's just like a lack of leadership or
Yeah.
proactive leadership from the very top.
Yeah.
So sometimes we learn about how we want to lead by watching other people not do it really well, right? So by experiencing the bad behaviors of other bad bosses, bad leaders. So can you give me an example of something that you learned from a bad boss or leader you've had?
Oh gosh, I love these questions because, sometimes you walk away and you go, I would never be like that. I would never do that. I would never, want to lead like that. Yeah, I can. I think I feel like one of the worst things for a leader is ego.
Mhm.
um I think there's a when there's a lack of humility, a lack of I think leadership in any form. If you were to ask me what's the one word that what equals leadership for me, it's service. You're serving people, you're serving, we serve our customers. We always talk about, what does it look like to serve our customers? Well, it goes beyond the customer.
Mhm.
For me, it's serving my leadership team, it's serving my visionary, it's serving the rest of the teams. I mean, you have to look at it from a place of just what does that look like? And then so couple that with servant leadership, it's really taking a form and a posture that it just doesn't become about you anymore.
That's
um
really what ego is, right? Is like, even though someone may say that it's not all about them, It's all about them. When your ego's driving the bus, it's like you're very self-focused and you're focused on your own needs and wants.
Yeah, and I think it creates a culture that lacks trust. I
Hmm.
think people begin to just, not trust who's leading them. Um, so many layers, it adds so many layers of complexity that just drive to it's a lack of vulnerability, it's a lack of trust, because it truly just becomes about one person or one agenda, and they lose sight of just in general, hey, what are we trying to accomplish together?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, that would be a big one for me. And then just also, I think a leader who is just so controlling, who doesn't trust, who doesn't, uh, who doesn't value. Again, bottom line, just to simplify it, it just comes down to how you see people, how you value people, um, and really looking beyond the what's in it for me. Which is why I think I love Bill's vision for the company. It really truly is about creating wins for other people. Like, bottom line, that's all we want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that translates into so many areas. I think that translates across, your own life personally is how am I going to go create, Meg, how am I going to create a win for you today? I hope I just don't totally tank this podcast. And, I hope that this brings you value. I hope this brings everyone value. Whoever listens to it, I hope that there's some value and nuggets in it. But it really is about what can I do to just serve you well.
Right.
And I think when you live in that space, there's a lot of freedom
Hmm.
that brings.
Yeah. And it shifts our focus away from ourselves to others. And I believe no one's born a good leader. Like we have to learn and make mistakes because leading other people and being responsible for the results and performance of other people is, I think, the hardest thing I've ever done. And
Absolutely.
you have to develop a lot of skill. So, and growing a high performing team is daunting. So, can you talk to us about some of the challenges you've personally experienced in your leadership growth as you've been trying to learn how do I support people to be their best?
Oh gosh, I think for me, it really was initially I felt like I knew nothing about the business. That pathway to COO for me, because it was so non-traditional. It wasn't something that I was looking for. I didn't go out seeking a title. This just happened, right? And so falling into that space, and then also kind of knowing this is how I'm uniquely wired. Like, this feels good to me. I know that I'm in the right space. It was just how do I translate what I know, how I can lead, the value that I bring to the table there, and also earn the trust and respect from a team that was very, very well versed in the industry.
Hmm.
They know what they're doing. They've been in the industry for years longer than I have. They know the terminology, everything, right? It was really I think that was the biggest challenge, is trying to look past whatever skill set I was lacking to drive home the mindset that I think needed to shift in the company to move us forward.
Hmm.
And I still live by that. Right now, we're actually in a season where we're hiring for a key seat, and for me, it's mindset over skill set. If we can get the right mindset and set the tone, keep driving that forward, then I have no doubt that the rest will come. And I kind of feel like for me, it was um, lacking the confidence to really feel like, gosh, I do bring some value here, even though I don't know anything about the multifamily industry right now. I know a lot more today than I did then. But even then, just having building that confidence, sitting in a space of what I do bring, it, brings some value, and then really owning that, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we feel like we have to earn something or earn the approval, earn the respect. I had to do a really quick reset to go, no, I don't need to earn this. I need to own it. And so I started to reshift my thinking and just go own your seat. That's what Bill hired you for. Don't feel like you have to earn it.
Yeah.
You've already been, like you've been handed this gift. Now go steward it well. And so, yeah, I think that answered the question.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. So, it sounds like for you, a lot of the struggle has been first within yourself to be able to
Mm-hmm.
put some of that stuff aside and show up in a way that's just like, you know what? I'm in the seat for a reason. I'm here to help serve these people, solve their problems. So, we all get tripped up by our ego and insecurity, and it looks really different. One person's insecurity might be like yours, where you're like, you're almost too soft or you hold back too much. Another person's insecurity means they're going to come in way too hot or be too controlling, but both
Yeah.
come from insecurity, right? So almost all bad leadership comes from that place of fear, and it affects our choices.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when you think about bad bosses and all the different ways they can derail by being controlling or too soft or passive, right? There's a bunch of mistakes we can make. So, do you think bad bosses are fixable? And what does it take to fix a bad boss?
I do think I think they can be if they are self-aware, right?
Okay.
Um, I think that I think people can miss their own blind spots. I always kind of refer to, the emperor had no clothes. When you get somebody like that who's just completely so self-unaware and just has no and will never get there, right? I think you can challenge them, tell them a million times. Actually had a boss like that where just the awareness was not there. And I think because it was so clouded by ego or pride,
Mhm.
um, that's a lot of, I think there are a lot of layers to the onion that somebody has to peel back to
Mhm.
get there. Can it be done? Yes. Um, I think everyone is capable of changing. I think everyone is capable of growing. I don't think everyone wants to
Mhm.
for whatever reason,
Yeah.
so yeah, I do think they can change, but it takes a lot of self-awareness and it takes a lot of, again, it's what makes a great leader. It's truth, it's humility, it's really kind of just setting your own, it's getting out of your own way, right?
Mhm.
We're our own worst enemies sometimes. And I think when somebody can just get out of their own way to either, hey, go seek the help to find, call out your blind spots. If you don't see them, find somebody who can. Then I think, yeah, absolutely, everyone's capable.
Yeah. Yeah. But you have to want to. You hit the nail on the
Absolutely.
head. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't want to, then I don't know what to tell you.
Then
Like,
I hope you're not my leader.
I don't know.
No
I
one
don't know.
wants to work with
I don't know
us.
what to tell you anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's just hard, it's hard. It's hard for people. I think people who really want to grow and challenge themselves. Um, I think we were talking about this earlier. You start to surround yourself with the people who can help you do that. You start to surround yourself with like-minded people who want to grow, who want to challenge themselves. Um, for someone who doesn't want that, then it's a really hard path to recovery.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Belinda, when you look at your leadership team right now with the company and where the company wants to go, the leadership team and the culture they're all creating with you, um, when you look forward 5 years, what are the opportunities for growth or change that are going to really optimize you for where you think the company's going with your leadership team or culture?
So, I'll hit culture first. I think our leadership team has a lot of heart value, ton of heart value. I think, the heart is there. I feel like everyone drives to just, they love what they do. They love the people that they're doing with. Like for me, I couldn't ask for anything more, right? I do think that there is a lot of opportunity for growth in just where our leadership team sits right now. So we are scaling to really be 100% service driven company. We've kind of flipped the charts where we were probably I would say 70-30 project service work. Now we're 70-30 service project work, if not, maybe a little bit more right now, because we're really tracking to be 100% service. That's the predictable, repeatable, profitable business for us. And so to get there, it is going to take some growth from our leadership in how we're driving, sales, how we're driving operations, how we're driving our finance departments in order to scale to that level. So right now we're in this phase of just, or, it's implementing new softwares and new CRMs in order for us to scale. But then now you've got a leadership team that is going to have to drive the teams beneath them to grow, right?
Yeah.
And that's really going to be, that's the mindset shift. Is we're not the same company we were yesterday. We're not the same company we were 5 years ago. We're not going to be the same company tomorrow.
Mhm.
To have a team that can really drive that forward, and then also being able to embrace, hey, what's it going to take for each individual component to own your spaces, really create right now, the ask is, hey, go think outside of the box, because you can't scale doing the same thing that you were doing yesterday, right? You have to constantly, what am I going to do different tomorrow that's going to change the trajectory that we're on, right? It's that constant. For me, it's an everyday thing. What am I going to do different tomorrow to be 1% better? And then at some point, that it's like compound interest, right? That
Mhm.
starts compounding that 1%, and you're just, you're 10%, and then you're 20, and then by the time you know it, you're 100% better, right? If you can grow with that mindset, then I think, yeah, it creates easy wins for everyone, right? But again, everybody has to be rowing in the same direction. You have to be rowing as one team. So it really is, I think, for our leadership team, really getting everyone to elevate their thinking, elevate the thinking of their teams, and then know how to manage and lead that forward. The hardest part of that, I think, is just, it is 1,000%. I think when you're in a season of growth like that, where goals are really big, the mindset is 1,000% consistency. You have to stay consistent. You have to set the example. You have to model consistently. Like I think for a team that sits at a leadership, on the leadership team, for this team, for me, the challenge, and the call to action for the team really is, um, we're asking our teams to be 1% better every day, be 10% better every day. Because we have to lead beyond what we're asking our teams to do, right? And so there's some growth there. I think if we stay on that journey, if that's the mindset, then I have no doubt, we'll hit goals that we probably didn't even think we were going to hit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So my last question is the kind of personal one where I want you to picture that I'm giving you a time machine and you get to go back in time and talk to you 10 or 15 years ago. What
Fun.
advice would you give yourself?
Um, I think it would be don't wait. I think sometimes, especially if you have imposter syndrome, like I think I've had for a very, very long time. It's not waiting for somebody to give you permission to go and do something. it just go do it. You know, if you know how you're wired, if you know and I think for most of us, I think we know. I think I'll take I'll say that in two forms. I think for most of us who are very attuned and self-aware, we know how we're wired. We
Mhm.
know what we're built for. We know what value we can bring to a table in any circumstance, right? And then I think there's another pathway where you want to be something that you're really not,
Mhm.
and you can try to push to something that you're really not designed to be that you think you are. Like I would never call myself a visionary. I would never, and I think it's sometimes I feel like there are spaces that are can be very attractive for people.
Right.
And they're like, well, I'm a visionary. And I know I'm not a visionary. Just like I'm 4'11, I know I'm not going to be the next, basketball star. It's just that's not gonna happen for me. I know that because I know how I'm wired, I know how I'm built. And so, really owning, hey, this is how I'm wired, this is how I'm built, these are my giftings. Go use them.
Mhm.
Just don't let anyone, I would have said, I think there were multiple times where I felt like I know what I'm good at. I know I can lead. I'd ask for it. And then it was like, no, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. Which just kind of like pushed, that whole imposter syndrome thing became very real.
Mhm.
And and then it just started to live in my head, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I really can't. But no, I think I would just say you getting past, if you know, then go refine your skill, go develop the skill and just go do it. Like
Mhm.
don't hold back, right? Um, so yeah, I think 10, 15 years ago, I would have absolutely probably knowing now what I knew, what I didn't know then, uh, it would have probably changed some things a little bit for me. But you know, it's all a part of growth too. I
Yeah.
don't I don't discount the experiences because I think again, connecting all of the dots, it's how I'm here.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Belinda, thank you so much for sharing
Oh,
all of that so authentically. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun for me too. So I hope it's enlightening for someone.
I'm pretty sure it will be. Thanks again.
Thanks, Meg.